Keep pushing that boulder to the top of the hill. Welcome one and all to Suckville.
Hope, help, and healing? Yes, please. I'm your host, Silva Florence, a professional healer, writer, cyclist, and American expat living in Italy. And this is live from Suckville. Every single one of us, every person that we pass on the street, everyone is dealing with something. The thing about life is that it can give us the best and it can give us the worst. And it gives all of us trauma. The problem is that many of us walk through the rest of our lives, or at least a part of our lives afterwards, feeling like we're not getting anywhere, feeling stunted maybe, feeling like there's something wrong with us, feeling like we're broken. But my guest today, Justin Sunseri, is here to tell you that you are not broken. You're just stuck. You're stuck in a state that there is an exit from. We're going to have a really excellent and a bit longer than usual discussion today about these things. And we're going to give you all also some practical advice and some things that you can do to move out of your stuckedness and into living more fully. So if that sounds good to you, you're going to want to listen to the rest of this episode. I'm really excited about it because not only is it rich and inspiring, but it's the first of many expert conversations that I'm going to have on this podcast going forward. As much as I adore and will continue to interview people who have been through all sorts of things, I think it's also important that I have people on here who can give us their expert opinion and help us to get out of Suckville more quickly. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, fellow Suckvillers, and welcome back on this beautiful spring day, at least here in Italy. Is there a little spring over there where you are, Justin?
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. There is definitely some sunshine after lots and lots of rain in California.
All right. That's what we're talking about. So this voice that you're listening to is Justin Sunseri, and he is a psychotherapist and trauma recovery coach from California. He is the creator of the Polyvagal Trauma Relief System and the author of Trauma the Polyvagal Paradigm. Justin is a husband, father of two, and a Seinfeld nerd. Anybody that is a Seinfeld nerd is totally welcome in Suckville.
I appreciate you having me and inviting me into Suckville. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you on here. Thanks a lot, Justin. So we're going to be talking about polyvagal theory, which is something that I knew pretty much nothing about. So I did a little bit of research because I was curious and things like that. But let's just pretend that I'm like probably some of our listeners out there who have no idea what this theory is. Can you give us an idea for like a polyvagal theory for dummies?
Yeah, the basic idea of the polyvagal theory is that mammals can be prepared for safety or danger. I think that's probably the easiest way to put it, is that on a biological level, not just in our mind, but like on a biological level, we can be prepared for safety, so connection, or danger, which is to basically get away from or be aggressive or even collapse or immobilize. So we can be prepared for safety and connection, build relationships, build friendships, make eye contact, smile, hug. Mm-hmm. Or we can be prepared for running away, fighting, or immobilizing, just kind of based on what's happening around us.
Like fight or flight.
People I'm sure have heard of like fight, flight, freeze, maybe fawn. Some of these are kind of in the ballpark of polyvagal theory, but polyvagal theory takes it's more narrow. So to get a little bit more specific, basically, if you cannot be safe and connect with yourself or with others, like if you're not in an actually literally safe context, like if there's some sort of danger present, then you shift into defensive biological potential, basically. So that means first, your body has an impulse to escape, to run away. But if you cannot do that, then the next thing is that you actually get more aggressive in order to push away the danger. And if that works, then you can run away and escape. But if it doesn't work, so if you can't run away, you can't fight, the last option the body has is to shut down. And that means to immobilize. It could be as extreme as like collapsing. So that could be like you're actually fainting. Or it's kind of like playing dead in a way, but not like a conscious choice to do so. The other kind of option is freeze, where you immobilize, but it's more tense. It's not a collapse. It's more of like a frozen paralysis kind of thing. And all these are about survival. The polyvagal theory is entirely about survival, how these things evolve within us as not just mammals, but specifically as humans, how we use these throughout, I don't know, evolutionary history to survive and to pass these on through DNA. So a lot of this is like a nerdy biological thing, but as far as like, I think what your listeners are more interested in is why do they feel the way they feel?
Exactly.
And, and like, how do they get stuck there? And that's kind of what trauma is, which is being stuck in one of these defensive states.
Exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of the people that are my listeners have either gone through some sort of a trauma or going through it. And so they might just be like shell shocked and not really even understand what's going on with them. Is that common in your experience?
Yeah. Super common. And I think that let's define the word trauma. And I kind of already did it.
That'd be great.
It's being stuck in a defensive state. That means you're stuck in flight or fight or shutdown or freeze. Like you cannot self-regulate out of that defensive state and access your safety state. So that's what trauma basically means when it comes to the polyvagal theory. Okay. So it's not like the thing you went through. I think a lot of times we talk about trauma, we think about the event, the thing that we went through.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But according to this, it's not about the event, because like you and I could be in like a car together, right? Or in a bus. Let's say we're in a bus, we're sitting side by side, and for all intents and purposes, things are as equal as we can make them. But when we get into like a bus crash, I might be stuck. I'm stuck in my seatbelts and the thing's on fire, versus where you escape and get to safety.
Because I have wings, obviously.
Maybe because you have wings, sure. Also, the Stuckville transit system needs a lot of work because that could have been avoided. Yeah,
have you seen the image on the website? It's like a burning city.
There you go. So the same incident can impact us differently, because we're going to have a different experience. We're going to have different cultures, family backgrounds. We're going to have different levels of trauma already. But the idea is that the same incident, and maybe like we both got out of the bus, but it affected me differently than you, whereas you took a deep breath and you kind of just said, oh my gosh, I can't believe what just happened. And you were able to like hug me and hug your friends and like, oh, we survived. Yay. Whereas I'm like still shook and I'm still in this very anxious state. And maybe I stay like that for months. So the bus crash is not the trauma. What I'm left with, or what someone's left with after the incident, that's the trauma. Is your body stuck in a defensive state or not?
So it's almost like what happens activates this kind of trauma.
Yeah. And, some things are obviously going to be more likely to be traumatic, of course, but the thing's not the trauma. It's the way it impacts. It's the impact, not the event. Trauma could also be like a lack of events.
In what way? What do you mean?
Meaning, so what I mean by that, trauma could be a lack of events, meaning like maybe you were raised, but you did not get enough love and affection. Maybe you did not get healthy attachment. That can leave somebody in a stuck defensive state, a traumatized state as well. So it could not just be the thing that you went through, but the things you didn't get that you should have from a caretaker.
Because physiologically, you would be kind of activating the same biological reactions.
Could be, but also as a baby, these different pathways, so like this is a biological thing. So those safety pathways, the ventral vagal pathways, if people are dying to know the specific pathways.
What are those? What are ventral vagal pathways?
Ventral vagal, it's these things that, all these things come from the brainstem basically, and they stretch out throughout the rest of the body through the vagus nerve. That's the polyvagal theory means that the vagus nerve has a couple different or many different uses basically, or two different distinct pathways. But basically there are these biological pathways, and for the safety state, it's the ventral vagal pathways that connect to the face, the heart, and the neck muscles. So when those pathways are active, we have access to all of that stuff, basically. But the point being, when we're babies, these things aren't developed yet. Babies don't have the same. They have the potential to socially engage. They can make eye contact. They can make cooing noises. They can connect with their parent, right? But these pathways are not as developed as they could be later on in life, or hopefully as they will be later on in life. So if these don't get developed, and the way they do get developed is through predictability, healthy attachment, proper amount of nurturing and nutrition, and all these touch, eye contact, all these things that help these pathways get developed. If you're a baby in a home where you're not getting those, then those safety pathways, those ventral vagal pathways, they don't get myelinated, basically, or they don't get developed enough. And so that baby, as they grow up, is stuck in a defensive state because the safety state just never got developed. That's like in cases of like more like neglect.
Oh, okay. And how would somebody know if they were, that kind of a person? Because you probably wouldn't consciously understand that, right?
No, I think, well, yes and no.
Okay.
I want to add on real quick as well. So
Sure.
In cases of like neglect, those pathways never get developed, but also in cases of abuse, that impulse to connect with the caregiver is constantly cut off. So trauma is not just the thing you went through. It's also chronically being cut off from healthy attachments. That's what I wanted to kind of clarify that. And so this person, or no matter how you got into a traumatized state, hopefully it's possible that that person just doesn't realize it, especially if they're surrounded by other people who are existing in a traumatized state and it's simply the norm, which I think is kind of like, for a lot of us on some level, we live in a very traumatized world on some level, I think. But just for that individual, they'll recognize it because they will see other people maybe are able to have what looks like or is healthy relationships. They might have self-regulation. They'll be able to experience happiness, or what looks like happiness at least. And for a traumatized individual, it's possible, but it's a lot harder to do that. If you've been through a thing that has left you in a traumatized state where you're, easily triggered into that scenario all over again, or having flashbacks, having healthy relationships is possible. But when you're in that certain situation or with that certain person, or you hear that sound or that smell that thing, it could easily just trigger that defensive state all over again, versus someone who was raised in a home where they did not get their safety pathways developed. Having safe relationships, feeling grounded, feeling in the present moment is a lot more difficult. And it's kind of like they're kind of always in a stuck defensive state.
Okay.
So I think they'll notice it because it's like they'll see like, oh, life can be different. Life is not what I'm going through. It doesn't match what I see other people going through. That's usually, I think, how people will start to see that.
That's good to know. And what would you define as like a healthy relationship? That's being able to have healthy relationships with people in general.
Yeah, that's a big one. For me, ideally, two individuals who are able to self-regulate, meaning they can access their own safety state, and then offer that to somebody else. They're not dependent on each other.
Yeah.
They feel connected, they feel attached, they love each other, but they're not dependent. Their well-being is not dependent upon the other person. Their ability to feel safe is not dependent upon the other person. So it's like, to me, it's more of a sharing versus a needing.
Exactly.
And I don't want to call it like a selfish thing, but it can be.
Like, it can be like wanting to be with somebody instead of needing to be with them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's going to look like empathy and compassion, and I think the values are going to be pretty darn similar. I think people that value family and like hard work, maybe they'll find each other, or someone who values leisure and vacation, they'll find someone that lines up with that. I mean, it's not 100% obviously, but
no, never is.
Generally the values will align. I think that's kind of what a healthy relationship looks like. Although you can, of course, help each other grow, and you don't have to have like your mirror image be your part. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah. Actually, in my personal experience, I feel like when I've been in healthier relationships, I feel like I'm given room to grow and I'm given room to mess up, and
Yeah.
I'm encouraged and supported. Nobody's trying to change me, you know? It's like a more accepting kind of a relationship.
Yeah, I think acceptance and mutual encouragement, support, not just emotionally, but like, yeah, go tackle your life goals, whatever they look like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think it's like a big part of it is recognizing that the other person is their own unique individual person with flaws, maybe definitely with flaws, but it's recognizing that the other person is a unique individual and accepting them for who they are without trying to change them. I think that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the only person that really can change is that person if they choose to. So.
Yep. I agree.
And going back to, you said also that a healthy relationship is people that can self-regulate in terms of that they're able to find their safety. You said like polyvagal safety.
Yep.
What is that exactly?
Yeah. So self-regulation means you can access your safety state. So let's go back. Let's go back a few steps here. I laid out the sequence of events. Like if you're not safe, then you run away. If you can't run away, you fight. If you can't fight, then you shut down.
And not safe, does that mean like emotionally, physically, the environment, all of the above?
Let's say there's like an actual danger in the environment. Okay.
Okay.
We'll just kind of keep it simple and stick there for now. So if there's a literal danger, then you go through that sequence of events. That's what it evolved within us to do. So we'll kind of just hang out there for a little bit. That sequence of events, let's call that the polyvagal ladder. I got that from Deb Dana. She's fantastic with this stuff. Highly recommend Deb Dana.
We'll put her in the show notes.
Please do. Yeah, she's amazing. She created this metaphor called the polyvagal ladder. And that is the sequence of events, those autonomic state shifts that we go through in danger. Okay, so that's what it looks like. If we can't be safe, we go down to flight, down to fight, down to shut down. That's the polyvagal ladder. Okay. We can't skip. We go through them in order. But the reverse is also true. So we go down the ladder when in danger, but when we're safe, we go up the ladder. That means if you're stuck in a shutdown state all the way at the bottom of that ladder, when you're safe, literally safe, you climb out of it from shutdown up to fight, up to flight, and then up to safety. Okay. So the way to kind of illustrate this or to give an image for it would be like, imagine there's a gazelle out on the field, meadow, wherever gazelles live, right? Savannah, I don't know.
Savannah,
so the
maybe.
Gazelle's out there. Maybe, I don't know if there's any gazelles in Suckville, but
definitely. There's everything there. Everything.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So that gazelle's hanging out with his gazelle buddies, right? It's just hanging out. They're eating gazelle food, whatever it is. And there's some sort of predator, maybe a lion, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a lion is stalking that gazelle and then starts to chase after it. So now the gazelle can't be safe anymore. It's not going to exist in a safety state. It's not going to be able to high five its gazelle friends and smile and continue to eat food and breathe and relax, right?
Give gazelle hugs. No gazelle hugs.
Nope, they can't do it anymore. Now it's going to go from that safety state down to flight. So it's going to mobilize and run away, okay?
Okay.
Its eyes are going to go wide. Its breathing is going to become really fast and shallow. And it's going to have this big burst of movement to run away, hopefully and get to safety. But that lion is too fast for it, and it got a jump start maybe. And a gazelle can't really fight back. So maybe it tries to like swing its head around or something like that, but it can't really fight back. So it shuts down, it collapses, and basically plays dead. It's not dead, but it's just kind of collapsed. Now the lion just used its own aggressive fight energy to chase it, to run after, and then jump on and pounce on this gazelle. So now it's like worn out, and it lacks the energy to eat the gazelle. So it's just kind of recuperating, right? We're in this situation still.
Okay.
So while the gazelle's passed out and the lion's recuperating, let's say a whole bunch of hyenas come on over, because hyenas are very opportunistic, as we all know. And they're just kind of like, oh, there's an opportunity here to get some easy food. The lion's not paying attention, or it doesn't have the energy to fight us off, right?
Sure.
So now the hyenas come over, right? So now the lion and the hyenas are distracted by each other. So the gazelle in its shutdown state is still kind of it's doing something called neurocepting, which is it's detecting for safety or danger. It's still detecting, can I get out of the situation, even though it's basically passed out? The body is still detecting for safety or danger. So it might feel, oh, the lion's not laying on me anymore.
Yeah.
I have a chance to get out of here. Okay, so it's going to go from the bottom of its polyvagal ladder, that shutdown state. It's going to go up into its fight state. And so it's going to use its muscles to push off the floor, the wherever it's at.
The prairie of Suckville.
The prairie of Suckville. So it's going to use its muscles to push off of the prairie of Suckville, and then maybe use its neck to like swing, its head. I don't know what gazelles do. So it's going to use its fight energy. So it went from shutdown up into fight. And the next thing it's going to do is detect, not consciously, but it's going to neurocept, oh, I now have enough space to actually run away. And I've been in shutdown. I've conserved my resources, which is what shutdown's for. The lion's distracted. I've successfully used my fight energy to create space and then run away and book it and go back to its gazelle buddies. The gazelle went all the way from safety down its ladder to shutdown and then all the way back up into safety. That's the polyvagal ladder.
I like this metaphor.
It's really good. Yeah, Debbie is awesome. So to bring it back, or to bring it forward to where we had left off, which was someone who can't self-regulate
Exactly.
is somebody who exists in a defensive state and they can't get out of it. They can't regulate back up to the top of their polyvagal ladder like the gazelle did.
So they're basically like surrounded by lions and hyenas all the time.
It could be. So it could be. Now, someone could live in an environment where they lack safety. They literally lack safety. I work in a public high school, and it's not a great environment. The environment that these kids come from is not great. So they literally cannot self-regulate. They can have moments of it, but to hold on to it is not realistic, sadly. So that could be the case in the actual environment. But when it comes to trauma, you could have a safe environment, but still be stuck. You can't self-regulate out of it. And what your listeners, maybe if they do yoga, a lot of times people will tell me they go to yoga. It's a safe environment, friendly people. It's warm. It's inviting, literally a safe environment, but they don't feel safe because immobilizing and doing the poses or being around people or being too close to people are all keeping them in their defensive state, even though it's literally safe, right? But they're still stuck. They can't self-regulate out of that stuck state. That's what I mean. When someone can't self-regulate, they're stuck in a defensive state.
Okay. And how does, if somebody realizes that this is happening to them, is there a way to access this safety, this polyvagal safety?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there is. And I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's definitely possible. And one thing is to have actual literal safe environments. That could be really helpful.
Okay.
And the other piece that could be helpful is to have actual literal safe people in your life. So that way you're in a safe environment and you have people in your life that are able to provide safety. So having those two can be, I think of those as like a platform, or like that's the base that we're going to build from.
Okay.
So if you have those two things, that's going to help out a lot. On top of that, you can do things like, I don't know, like what does somebody enjoy? Do what you enjoy, but do it mindfully. So if you like going out for, like you said at the beginning, it's a spring day. This is a really good opportunity to exist in safety, to take a walk with someone who's safe if you want to, and then mindfully feel sunshine on your skin, mindfully look at things blooming. So what I mean by mindfully is don't just like walk and look at your phone, but like go for a walk and experience what it's like to be safe. And that's a big concept. That's the basic idea, is you're actually in safety. Now mindfully experience it and allow it to be there. And then part of this is you continue to practice and practice and practice, and you build your capacity. In polyvagal terms, it's called the vagal brake. It keeps the defensive state turned off, or keeps your heart at a calmer pace. So you're practicing your ability to stay in your safety state, which is not easy, but it is possible through things like that involve mindfulness and literal safety. It could be yoga too. People really like yoga. It could be smelling incense, whatever it is. It just kind of helps you to slow down and feel present in the present moment.
So safety should feel like being mindful, being present, being calm, things like that.
I think that's a really good indication. If you can do that, that means you're in your safety state. Safety could also feel like relaxation. It could feel like playfulness. It could feel like motivation and excitement. So safety, I think it could feel like awe and wonder. It can present in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there's reasons for that. But the basic idea is safety is like what helps for me. I think the biggest thing is what helps you to connect with yourself or with others. If you can connect with yourself and be curious about what life is like for you, you're probably in your safety state. If you can connect with others and smile and make eye crinkles, like when you smile, it's like a little, your upper cheeks lift and makes these eye crinkles.
Yeah. Crow's feet.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you can do that and these crow's feet pop up or those eye crinkles when you smile or like when you listen to someone, like your eyes squint, that's a really good indication that you're in your safety state. You're connecting with yourself or you're connecting with other people. Safety is really about connection. It's not just about, are you literally safe? It's about from being literally safe, then you can connect with others or connect with yourself. It's about connection.
Yeah, because I suppose if somebody doesn't feel safe, they're not going to feel safe, like kind of putting themselves out there and being a little bit vulnerable and things like that. Might be pretty scary.
Yeah, that's the risk, right? It absolutely could be. So when I say safety, I'm not saying like just do these things. I'm not saying like be vulnerable and go, to yoga. Mm-hmm. Safety is not necessarily a behavior. It's a biological state first and foremost. That's what it is. And then you can notice that mindfully. So when I say safety, I'm really referring to the biology of it. What it looks like is different person to person. I like to go swimming. To me, that feels safe as long as my pool's clean. So for me, I love to go swimming. This morning, I started off my morning by coloring Pokemon with my son. That was a safe thing for me, right? But that's me. What it looks like for your listener, I don't know. But the experience of safety, the internal experience, is going to be generally pretty similar. Like you said, it might feel vulnerable. It actually might be uncomfortable because they're not used to it. And so, like I said, we have to practice and exercise those pathways. And the more you do that, the easier it is to get there and to maintain it. Somebody can feel safety, but not really hold on to it. And they'll get to the top of their polyvagal ladder in their safety state, but then kind of like lose access to it and then come back down a little bit back into their flight. And they'll feel anxious and nervous and worried about it. So
what should somebody do if they, get like almost there, but then they start to feel anxious and nervous and
celebrate it? That's fantastic. Good job.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
That's progress.
Seriously. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a long process. It's not, I don't know, if somebody wants to hit a baseball that's thrown at them 90 miles an hour, like just taking a swing at it's progress in a sense, right? But if you can hit a baseball at 25 miles an hour, that's progress too. If you can hit it or swing at it at 50 miles an hour, like I don't expect someone to get it right off it's a process. You have to practice this.
If you can not just get the ball in the face, that's probably already something.
Dude, hey, celebrate it. Celebrate it. Yeah, exactly. So it's not, there's no hack. It's not like a simple brain rewiring thing. It's like, it's dedication. It's practice. It's not easy. But it is possible, and it takes time. It does.
How often should somebody try and practice like finding this for themselves?
I don't know the right answer. I would recommend if you're just starting this, like once a day, just check in with yourself. And the first thing that instead of feeling happy and safe and joyful, you might not be there yet. Mm-hmm. So instead of searching for that, search for like what just kind of helps me feel better in this moment. What feels better? And that's actually that could be a slippery slope because drugs might help someone to feel better, but I don't want them to do that. Honestly, I don't want them to cut themselves. I don't want them to do anything that's harmful to themselves or others. So in a sense, it might feel better, but that's not what I mean. Okay. What I mean is like, what do you just sort of feel a pull towards? And that might be like, the lighting in the environment that you're in right now. Do you feel a pull towards your blinds being open or closed? Like it could be something that simple. Like, does the blinds being open help you feel a little bit more in the moment, a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed? Can you breathe a bit easier? And if the answer is yes, then that's getting you closer to your safety state.
I really like that because it's simple. Mm-hmm.
It's just a step. Exactly. Just a step, just one step. And what I recommend to people is, I think starting with the external environment is probably the most manageable and actually could have a big impact. What I like to recommend is start with a room or even a piece, like a corner of a room. If you can pick one aspect of your environment and make little changes, like in the lighting or seating, like if maybe I like to have my seats face the window. That to me, it feels more open and expansive.
I like to have the windows open so that I can see the gazelles of Suckville running by. Makes me feel
Yeah.
very safe and happy.
And I hear they love to be watched as well.
They do. They love it. And hugged.
Yeah,
So
there you go. So that's what I would tell people is what little alterations can you make in your environment? And that might be like cleaning off crumbs and debris in that area. Just tidy it up, organize. If there's clutter, take it out. Just those little things can go a long way toward helping you get to your safety state. That's what I was saying. What do you feel a pull towards and a push away from? And just kind of follow that.
And these can be like very subtle cues in your body, I feel like, too, right? Like this.
Very. It is, yep.
Because I feel like before this interview, we talked a lot about also how people are very disconnected from their bodies these days. Yep. And so, like, I'm very fortunate to be somebody who is very connected with my body. So, like, even when I'm, I don't know, about to take a new job or something, or I'm even looking at a job posting, I feel in myself a yay or an ugh, but like a physical one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's super easy, but what you just described is
it's
a
not
really
easy.
Good path to start on.
But it's really empowering when you can do it.
Yeah, totally. Maybe like this as a first step, use your senses. And so I had the example of the blind, or we talked about the blinds being open or closed. That's using our eyesight. What do we like more? And it's just, this or that. Mm-hmm. But it could be, if you want to practice this and feeling those little pulls, maybe go to Walmart. Walmart has like a ton of candles, or Target. Mm-hmm. And just like pick one candle and pick another candle, smell one, smell the other one. You'll notice in your body that there's more of a like or a dislike. Mm-hmm. And that can help practice, what do I feel more a pull towards? Now, I'm not saying like buy a bunch of candles or anything like that.
Well, you can if you want to, but
you could, absolutely, sure. What helps you? Which of these two options do you feel more of a pull towards? And that can help you to practice like what you feel inside and looking more inward, because we don't really do that. We kind of stay in our heads a lot, I think. So that little simple exercise can help you kind of practice.
I like this. This is really good, like practical advice and things that everybody can try and access in their daily lives.
There's tons of courses and stuff out there, and everyone has advice. And I try to like what's practical, what's doable and free that people can like do today. That's really important to me. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate the advice because I don't know. I like to, as much as I love to interview people who have been through things, it's also really good to give people something that they can tangibly, do to better their own situations.
Yeah.
To give them a little bit of their own power back.
I love that. Yep.
This is just kind of random curiosity, but like sometimes when you have like an ache or a pain in your body and you're like, what is that all about? Do you think that your body might be trying to tell you something?
When it comes to pain, I think polyvagal theory can be connected to numerous things like chronic pain, chronic fatigue. Mm-hmm. I hesitate because I'm a therapist and I don't want to get too far into like potential medical stuff,
Sure.
But in general, yeah, especially like tension. I think we carry our stress and our tension in certain places. Mm-hmm. So when you're dysregulated or you're stuck in a defensive state, you're going to feel that somewhere. And that definitely can have implications for your physical health.
Everything's connected. It's not like we're like a mind here and a body here.
No.
And we like walk side by side,
right. But polyvagal theory is the thing that explains the mind body. If we look at it as a duality, it explains the connection or how these things connect. If you're in this sort of state, your lived experience, your mind, your feelings, your thoughts, all of these things change based on what polyvagal state you're in. So safety, flight, fight, or shutdown. It directly impacts your entire experience, your entire reality. It becomes your filter for the world. There's a lot of important concepts when it comes to polyvagal theory. I think one that's really fun and interesting and kind of mind-blowing is this idea, again, Deb Dana, it's this concept of story follows state.
What's that mean?
Yeah, the idea is that the thoughts in your brain come from the state that you're in.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you exist in a state of safety, your thoughts will be more compassionate and empathetic, understanding, curious. You can learn better. You'll have more just generally positive kind of thinking, but also I think realistic as well. But if you exist in a flight fight state, your thoughts become more paranoid, skeptical, blaming. You don't take responsibility for stuff very well. Yeah, it fundamentally changes. If you're in a shutdown state where you're just kind of collapsed and feeling empty, the thoughts in your brain are going to be pretty hopeless. You're not going to have much motivation. You're not going to have much interest in things. So these states affect us in our emotions, in our inner sensations, our impulses, but also our thoughts. Our thoughts change based on what state that we're in. And so I think we put a lot of weight into what we think, and if we could just change how we think, then that'll change, this or that. But the reality is the way we think is there because of the polyvagal state that we're in. So the issue is not your thoughts, although that can help. The issue is not your thoughts. The issue is what state are you in? If you can change your state, then your thoughts change along with it. I think it's a really important concept.
That's pretty fascinating, actually.
It is. I think, well, yeah. And so I think it's like there's more hope there. I think there's more of an avenue for change versus just like, you're not thinking the right way, stop it. It's the issue is not, oh, you're thinking that way, which indicates, oh, you're probably in a shutdown state. Let's work on that versus just trying to continually change the way you think.
Yeah, that's like a kind of the opposite of what we're told, right? Like think positive.
Totally.
Which I think can help because I do believe that the way that you talk to yourself, can really be convincing, even if you're not aware that you're doing it.
I think it can be, but what I would say is if you're able to say nice things to yourself, you're probably already in a safety state. And so it's kind of reinforces it. It's helpful. You might say things from your safety state that are encouraging and like pump you up. I think thoughts are reinforcing of whatever state you're in, and they can help change your state. So like I think it actually happened a couple of days ago. I was in kind of a anxious, probably a flight state, and I recognized it and I allowed it to be there. I just let my feelings be there without judging them. Right.
Best way to be, if you can.
I think so. As long as you can tolerate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I used my thoughts to change how I felt inside. And the thought that I used had personal meaning to me. I thought about myself playing Little League when I was like 12. And there's memories of that are extremely grounding for me, So that thought means something to me. I can recall that thought and that can help change my state. If I give that thought to anybody else, it'll be useless, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's similar to where we can give people mantras and affirmations that probably mean something to us. But if I tell you, hey, say this mantra, maybe it'll be helpful if it means something to you, but it also could be, I think, frustrating. So I think thoughts can be helpful as long as they have personal meaning to you and they directly connect with some sort of safety in your own body.
That's really interesting. And if you're not someone who, is used to looking at their emotions, maybe doesn't even know what emotions they're having, what would you suggest that this kind of a person could do to get themselves up the ladder a little bit? Because if you don't even know what your thoughts are, then you can't even really probably connect it to a state.
You could. So if you know your thought, I think a lot of times we're aware of our thoughts. So you could connect your thoughts to a state. It's not easy, but it's possible. It's possible also that there's kind of a big gray area. It's possible someone truly does not know how they feel. And when you ask them, as a therapist, this comes up all the time.
Yeah.
So when I ask them how do they feel, they will tell the truth and they'll say, I don't know, or they'll say, I don't have any feelings. And that's true because what they have instead is numbness or emptiness.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you kind of push the issue, it's that there is a feeling there.
I think every one of us has been there at some point.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Of course. Yeah. And that's normal. That numbness or emptiness is the experience, though, of being in a more day-to-day existence of a shutdown state. So that could be the case where like they really cannot feel what they're going through because there is no feeling. It's numbness,
Yeah.
or it's disconnection or dissociation. Like they don't feel like they're in their body, which is very common.
Yeah.
And that's indicative of a shutdown, collapsed kind of state biologically. But it's also possible that someone doesn't know how to name their feelings. So they have feelings like anger and anxiety, but can't consciously welcome it. Before we started, I told you I was nervous, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't try to make it go away. And you asked like, why? And I'm like, I don't know why. I just let it be there.
Yeah.
So, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm able to recognize it and feel it, but not everyone can do that without judging it. And I don't feel it anymore, by the way. I just moved on with my life and yeah, it softened, right?
And here we are talking about gazelles and hugging and
having a good time. Exactly. Yeah.
candles.
Co-regulating with each other. It's called co-regulation.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. Walmart. Yeah. So what the heck was I talking about? Oh,
I don't know. This is an awesome tangent.
They may feel. Okay. They may feel whatever they're going through. I'm going to finish this thought.
I have faith in you.
They may feel whatever they're going through. Okay. But they don't know how to name it. And so the issue is to build language for what they're going through. And if you can build language for it, that can help name it, that can help normalize it, that can help allow it. But someone may not know the word, like they don't know it's anxiety, but they know that they feel like their heart's racing. They know that they're really tense. They know that they're thinking about the future or they're dwelling or ruminating on something. So they can describe what they're going through. And then we can say, oh, that's called anxiety.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think for what we're talking about when it comes to thoughts and emotion, that's usually what people can notice. And if you can notice it and just let it be there, that's more helpful, I think, than trying to make it go away or being mad at yourself for it. But it also is difficult, and I do want to respect that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're not saying that any of this is easy, and then if somebody can't manage to do it, then they're a big failure.
It's a step forward. It's like you're further along than where you just were.
Yeah. I don't think that feeling our emotions, letting our emotions go in and out, that kind of thing is taught to us really in this culture. And so I like the idea that you can explain like, well, this is what's happening. That's the first step in understanding your emotions. Like you don't even need to know exactly what they are. It's very approachable. It's very human.
You kind of don't. Don't. Yeah, you're right. As long as we develop a language for the emotions, but also like what underlies the emotions as far as what it feels like to have sadness, like heaviness or lack of motivation. Mm-hmm. Or not caring. Like if we can describe those things, I think that's more helpful than just saying I'm sad. You know, because if you can describe those things, that means you're letting it be there. That means you're feeling it. And that's what we want, just to let things be there.
You're acknowledging it. You're saying like this
exactly.
exists. Yep. And this is a part of who I am.
Yep.
And it's okay.
That's called validation. Just you're validating what you're going through. And I think with traumatized individuals, the feelings that they have day in, day out might seem chaotic, and maybe they are. They might seem random. They might seem different or abnormal, but really it's like they're there, they're real. Mm-hmm. So they're valid, just to sort of like name it. But also it makes sense why they're there. It's you can normalize, it's called normalization. You can look at your emotions and say, it makes sense why I feel this way. Mm-hmm. If anybody else had my life situation and my context, they would likely feel something similar. So it's normal as well. So if you can validate your feelings and then normalize your feelings, what I would invite that person to do next is to give them permission to exist. And that's what we're talking about here.
That's awesome. I really like that process for people that are, just kind of out there struggling and don't really know where to start. I think we've given people some really good places to start.
Yeah. With practice and as you continue learning about this stuff, it is possible to do some self-regulation, but it's not easy. Yeah. I created this thing called SSIEC. It stands for State, Sensation, Impulse, Emotion, Cognition. So it's just one sheet, and it has it's like a table, I guess, of these different, I call them domains. Mm-hmm. And it has words for like the sensations you might be having, and it connects it to an emotion word, or it connects it to cognitions you might be having or the polyvagal state. But yeah, it's a freebie. I'm happy to provide it to you and your listeners if you're okay with that.
I would love to. I can put it in the show notes actually for for anybody that's like in this place.
And I won't even make them sign up for my email list. I just want to make sure people have that as a resource.
I appreciate that. Let's do it. And if people do want to sign up for your mailing list or you're listening to your podcast or whatever, where should they go to find you?
The easiest thing is justinlmft.com. And I have, all my stuff is there. It's justinlmft.com. And
it's great. I was kind of stalking you a little bit before the podcast, and there's tons and tons of information on there. I mean, it's like, it's a treasure chest.
Yeah.
So
I want people to have a resource they can go to if it clicks for them. I have paid stuff as well, but I really want to make sure, like, if you have questions about polyvagal theory, like, you have a place to go to that makes sense right away. That's my goal.
That's awesome. It's a great thing that you're doing, Justin. Thank you. I'm so happy that we had our chat.
Right. I am honored. Thank you so much.
I just learned so much. Make sure you don't miss an episode by following Live from Suckville on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. For updates, inspirational content, and upcoming events, follow me on Switch Path on Instagram. That's SWITCHPATH on Instagram. Or go to www.switchpath.com and sign up for the newsletter. Upcoming events include monthly healing sessions, dates to be announced for May, and a series of 4 workshops designed to help you slow down your life and reconnect with nature by working with each of the 4 elements. A special thanks to all my guests and listeners, and to Chris Kirby for the amazing theme music. This episode was recorded in my kitchen and produced by yours truly. Until next time.